We have a new policy to not do online drashes every other week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read Mordeh Ezra's drash for him and comment a little bit, and I'll also talk about the new the special maftir portions that we have that we had today and we've had recently also. So the fourth aliyah of the Vayakhel portion apparently has no topics from which we can learn something, and it is precisely that one of the mysteries and the depth of the Torah. Every word has a reason to be there, in addition to a deep meaning, such as the twisted linen, the colors blue, purple, and crimson, gold, and goat hair. Why fine linen? The use of fine linen in the Mishkan, and particularly in the curtains that form the inner covering and the sacred veil, is not accidental. It corresponds to multiple reasons, both practical and symbolic. Fine linen was a fabric of great value and prestige in the ancient world. Producing it required skill, time, and quality raw materials. In Egypt, the cradle of the best linen production of the time, this fabric was associated with the social elite, royalty, and the clergy. Using fine linen for the Mishkan indicated honor, reverence, and the very best for the house of Elohim. Fine linen, especially when white or dyed with precious colors such as blue, purple, and crimson, possessed an intrinsic beauty and luminosity that made it appropriate for a sacred place. The whiteness of linen was associated with purity and holiness, and its ability to reflect light could have been interpreted symbolically as a manifestation of divine glory. Although delicate in appearance, fine linen, especially when twisted, became a relatively durable and resistant fabric for the time. The curtains of the tabernacle had to be transported, installed, and dismantled repeatedly during the pilgrimage through the desert. The durability of linen ensured that the curtains could fulfill their function for a considerable time. First, these linen fibers are taken and spun together. This spinning process creates an individual linen thread. It's like rolling and stretching the fibers simultaneously to give them continuity, an initial form of resistance. Double or multiple twist. Once you have several of these individual threads, the crucial step to obtain fine twisted linen is to twist those threads together again. That is, two or more individual threads are taken and spun in a spiral around each other. This double or even triple or multiple twisting process is what really gives fine twisted linen its special characteristics. Think of an electric cable. A thick electric cable is not just a single metal wire, but is made of many fine copper wires that have been twisted together. By twisting them, they become stronger and more flexible as a whole than if they were just separate wires. Fine twisted linen is similar. It is stronger and more durable because it is made of multiple individual linen threads that have been joined by twisting. Linen had a strong symbolism of ritual purity in both ancient Egypt and Israel. In Egypt, priests wore white linen as a symbol of purity and to avoid ritual contamination in their priestly functions. In the Israelite context, linen was closely associated with priestly garments and with ritual cleansing. Using linen for the curtains of the tabernacle reinforced the idea of the holiness of the sacred space and the need for purity to approach Hashem. For the Hebrew people, linen was associated with holiness and separation from the profane. The garments of the high priest and the priests were made primarily of fine linen. This indicated their sacred function and their position as mediators between Elohim and the people. Linen distinguished them from the common people and prepared them for service in the Mishkan or temple, making a simile between linen, twisted linen, and the Jewish people. Fine linen was of great value. Fine linen has great value and prestige. Producing it required skill, time, and quality materials. Oh, wait, hold on. I think we already read this. Okay, no, not yet. This spinning process creates an individual linen thread. In the same way, a Jew is formed with the different tools available to him: talit, tefillin, and prayer book, wine, challah, spices, candle, or oil lamps, and others used for each special occasion. Every time he uses the aforementioned, this Jew becomes stronger both physically and spiritually. Regarding twisted linen, being composed of several intertwined threads, it acquires greater resistance due to the unity between them, acquiring greater resistance to traction and where necessary to withstand the inclemencies of the weather. Similarly to fine twisted linen, the Hebrew people have demonstrated extraordinary strength and resistance throughout their history. composed of multiple individual threads, families, tribes, individuals with diverse experiences and gifts. They remained intertwined through emunah, their culture, and their shared heritage. This union has given us an incomparable historical resistance to traction and wear. The Jewish people have endured centuries of slavery, exile, persecution, and dispersion, maintaining our identity and our faith. Just as the curtains of the tabernacle had to be transported and withstand continuous use in the desert, the Hebrew people have transported their faith and their identity through generations and geographies, resisting the inclemencies of history. The Torah, halakha, and the sages of blessed memory are the twist of the twisted linen that only grows stronger with time. That is why its resistance to extermination from the beginnings as a people until today. Another factor that gives more strength to the twist of the union of individual linen is a solidarity that exists. We no longer say it hurts me. Now we say it hurts us, all as one unit. In moments of pain, we are most united, where no one can separate the threads to destroy them individually. The Jew has endured centuries of slavery, exile, persecution, and dispersion, maintaining his identity and his faith, just as the curtains of the Mishkan had to be transported and withstand continuous use in the desert. The Hebrew people have transported their faith and their identity throughout generations and geographies, resisting the inclemencies of history. I think this is a little bit repetitive. So, yes, basically, there are many lessons that we can gain from the fabric, and not just the fabric, but many things in the building of the tabernacle, all the precious metals, etc. And I know Mora Ezra would also like to elevate our Torah reading and ask, I'm going to say this message on behalf of him to everyone, that when we come up to read the Torah, we would like to ask the readers if they could now start making sure to wear a kippah and a talit when they come up, in order to show their honor for the Torah, honor for the Jewish people, and to be dressed in this way in order to represent not just themselves or a baseball team, on their cap or something like that, but to represent Hashem and to represent the Jewish people by wearing these things. So a kippah and a talit for men, and for women just to be covering our arms up to our elbows, at least. Men also, please cover your elbows, at least when you go up to read from the Torah. Okay, now that I've made that difficult announcement, I'm going to go on with what I wanted to share today, which is from Parshat Vayakhel. The maftir, if you notice, the maftir is usually just the last 3 verses from the Torah portion. But however, sometimes we have special maftir reading. And this Shabbat is maftir, a special maftir for Shabbat Parah. This Shabbat is considered Shabbat Parah. And this drash is called Preparing the Heart for Redemption. This Shabbat, we read Parshat Vayakhel, where the nation gathers to build the Mishkan, a dwelling place for the divine. But today is also Shabbat Parah. And so we interrupt the weekly Torah portion to read a special maftir, the mitzvah of the Parah Adumah, the red heifer, from Bamidbar 19, Numbers 19, which was used to purify those who had become spiritually impure through contact with the dead, and other things as well. This is not a random interruption. Shabbat Parah is one of 4 special Shabbatot leading up to Pesach, each with its own special maftir reading, each a spiritual preparation for redemption. Shabbat Shekalim is about giving the half shekel for the temple service, and we read that a few Shabbats ago. And then we had also in recent weeks, Shabbat Zachor, which is about remembering and erasing Amalek. And this Shabbat is Shabbat Parah, which is about purifying ourselves through the ashes of the red heifer. And soon we will be having Shabbat HaChodesh, where the maftir will be about the command to sanctify the new moon of Nisan, the month of freedom, the month of Pesach. And these 4 Shabbatot are beautifully paralleled by the 4 cups of wine at the Passover Seder, which we will be drinking very soon, each representing a different stage of the Exodus drawn from the 4 expressions of redemption in Shemot. Exodus chapter 6, 6 and 7, I will take you out. And Shekalim reminds us, Shabbat Shekalim, that special Shabbat, it reminds us that this phrase from the cups of Passover, the first cup of Passover, it reminds us to separate ourselves from a slave mentality and become part of something greater, because this is what Hashem did for us during Passover. And then we have Shabbat Zachor, I will save you. And that special Shabbat reminds us that true salvation comes when we remove our spiritual enemies within and without. Just like Shabbat Zachor reminds us to remember Amalek. And then I will redeem you. That's this Shabbat, that parallels with this Shabbat, Shabbat Parah. And this teaches us that redemption requires purification, and we must become vessels worthy of Geulah, or redemption. And then the last special Shabbat before Pesach corresponds to the 4th cup of wine, which represents the phrase, I will take you to me as a people. It's about sanctification, and HaChodesh marks the beginning of a new identity and closeness with divine, and we sanctify the new moon, just as he sanctified us. So on Shabbat Parah, the focus is an inner cleansing. In temple times, the ashes of the Parah Adumah were essential before bringing the Korban Pesach, the Pesach offering, the Pesach sacrifice. And today, without the physical ashes, we're reminded that spiritual preparation is still necessary. It's not enough to clean our homes for chametz. We must also clean out the emotional and spiritual chametz, resentment, fear, ego, doubt. So as we draw closer to Pesach, we must ask, have I prepared my soul as much as I've prepared my kitchen and my house for Passover? The red heifer reminds us that the path to redemption isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's not just about leaving physical Egypt. It's about Egypt also leaving us, spiritual Egypt. This is our work now until the days of Pesach, to purify our hearts, renew our minds, and become a vessel for freedom. And this afternoon, our class at 5:15 p.m. will be on the laws and customs and symbology of Pesach. And we'll talk about some common misconceptions about Pesach and distinguish between halakha and custom, Jewish law, what is required, and custom. So that we can be prepared, but also not go crazy getting ready for Pesach, but also do it halachically according to historical Jewish standards. And this is what Jews are supposed to do before each and every coming holiday. Is the month prior to the holiday, we are supposed to be studying that holiday to prepare ourselves spiritually and physically for what is to come.